Hello everyone, today I'm going to show a tutorial on how I can create different sets of furniture such as cabinets, drawers, racks, with just cube as our main object and also with adjusting the settings. But first we need to know about the geometry nodes.
So geometry nodes in general description is this allows you to alter or change the geometry of an object and other modifications using a node-based function or command. So for now, let's start with the tutorial. So this will appear on your screen when you open Blender. Then just click on the side. And as you can see here above, you can see different workspaces. So there's the layout tab, modeling, sculpting, UV editing, and others. And here on the most right, uh, next to the scripting is geometry nodes. So you can click this tab and this will appear on your screen. So here on the left side is like a guide of the position of each vertex on your given object. So if you want to be mathematical or technical about modeling your product, then you can use this as your guide. And then here on the right side is your workspace where you can visualize better the object that you're modeling. And then this one on this one below is where you'll do the geometry nodes process. So we can start with clicking this new button right here, and this will appear on your screen. So there's these two nodes, the group input and the group output. So this could be confusing at first, especially if you're used to just adding objects or clicking commands. Since, like as I said earlier, geometry nodes uses a node-based um, functions or commands to make modifications on your object. This is a bit self-explanatory, so input, output, and an analogy that I can give to better understand this is the assembly line system. So think about the process in an assembly line where it is going in one direction. So in this case from left to the right. So each parts in an assembly line is added as it moves along the predetermined direction until it reaches a point where it completes the whole structure of the product. So same with this geometry node system wherein you add nodes from left going to the right, and then it will accumulate the changes, or it will accumulate the modifications, and it will deliver the message to the going to the group output. This will be translated to your workspace and revealing the final output here. So you will be able to visualize whatever modifications that you did here. So it's really confusing in the start, since there will be a lot of nodes uh, that you need to add in order to create something out of this cube. So if you connect any node between these two, delete, we can delete this line by holding control and clicking the right mouse button. So it's like slicing the line. So the cube will disappear. So if you want to add the cube back here, we can we can just press Shift A. So here are the so here you can add different commands or functions that you need. So if you want cube, we can go here and mesh and then primitives and press cube. Or if you want, you can just type here on the search. You can just type cube. So this will appear. So you can just place it here and then connect this mesh here on your geometry. So by connecting it here on your output, this will be translated or this will appear on your workspace. So it's also the same with if you want like if you want a cone cylinder, you can just do it like that. So anyways, we can start with doing the modeling of the furniture. We can start um, with, so we're gonna need an initial object. Pressing Shift A. So cube. This we're going to model first the racks or walls on the two sides. I'm connecting it to this geometry channel on the output node. So by doing that, we're gonna see this cube here on our workspace. And then after that, we're gonna add instances on points. By hovering it here between this, it's gonna be highlighted, and then if you click it, it's gonna automatically connect together. So instances and points is like adding the same object without actually duplicating the data. So as we know in the layout tab, we usually duplicate the object uh, into making it a separate object. So this also means a separate data, and it could create a big file, making it harder for the system or your laptop to function or follow, especially for projects with multiple objects of the same type but just different characteristics. Like for example, with rocks or grass, this requires duplicating hundreds and thousands to make it look realistic. So going back to this cube, since we want to instance, we're gonna connect it here on the instance channel. Then we're going to add a mesh line. So you mesh line connected on the points channel. So now we can see um this mesh line function is for stacking or sorting rows of objects and enabling it enables manipulation such as the number of objects. Like here it says 10, you can make it just 4, 5, and then you can also move it around or adjust the angle or the distance between the rows. So it's also same with other nodes. You can also like change the sizes like that or the rotation, scale. It's the same with the size here on the cube. So you can turn it back to, oops, should be 1. Then just so after doing that, um, we're gonna add the combine x y z. So combine x y z. So combine x y z, it allows a vector to combine its individual components. So, for example, you want to connect this to the start location. By connecting this X channel to another input, this will appear on the right side. So this will be the setting that will adjust the X location of your object. But we can still adjust the setting here and the nodes. If you disconnect this, adjust it manually here. So connect this X here. Then, since we're gonna need the other side, because we're doing a furniture, we're gonna need the other wall or rack. So by selecting all four of these, by pressing Shift D, I can duplicate those nodes. So right now we can't see it here on our workspace since it's not connected to this geometry output. But we can't just simply connect it like this since it's gonna remove the previous object. So if we want to um, make both of these appear, we can add the join geometry node. So with that, I can it joins all the objects or data from its left side and then send it into the output channel to translate all those data into your workspace. So like that. So if we connect the X channel here, it's just gonna you may thought that the object disappeared, but it's actually here it's actually on the same location of the first object. Um, like that. So since of course I want it to be on the other side to create that two walls for the furniture. We're going to add a math node. So take note of this math node since we're gonna be using that a lot along um as we go along the tutorial. For the math node, we're gonna use the multiply option. So when we hear multiply, it automatically means getting a larger amount. So it's like scaling up the numbers. So it's basically moving in the same direction of the first object, but only half of its value. But if we type 1, it's gonna be in the same direction as the object. So to make it on the other side, type -1 to mirror the distance of the previous object. So there it's already the same distance but only it's projected on the other side. So after doing that, we're still gonna need to manipulate its thickness. we're gonna add the combine XYZ and connect it to the scale. So right now it disappeared because the value is 0. So we can just type 1 to add value and make it appear here on our workspace. So if you want to manipulate its x-axis, you can just create another input for it. Like that. So every time you adjust this, both of the object will be manipulated. So it's the same with the y and the z. You can just do that. Here y and then z. So this could be confusing. Like you can't just put x and then x here, especially if you have a lot of settings here later on. So we can rename or label these settings by when you see this arrow right here, you can just click it and then this will appear. Go to view, go to group, and then by clicking the one set by clicking the setting that you want to label, this will appear here and then you can change the name. So after doing those, right now it's a bit crowded. So you really have to scroll up and down the mouse to zoom in and out. So to make it look more organized, we can select all this 5 since this is for the left wall and this one is for the right wall. So you can select all these and then group it by pressing by pressing Control J. So by doing that, it's already grouped together. So you can just move this. You can also do it with this one. So you can also label this by going back to that setting, then go to node. Here you can put the label. You can put left wall. You can also change the color if you want, like red. So you can also do it the same here. Make it the same color to know that it is both for the walls. Then here, right wall. As you can see, when we adjust the wall height, it's both scaling in both directions. So we want it to be staying on the ground while scaling the height. So to do that, we can add transform geometry here. We can again add combine XYZ, but this time we're going to add a vector math. So here you can just connect that on the translation channel. Oops. So we can gonna have it by -2. I mean positive 2 because we want the positive values. So that so when we adjust the height, it's only getting the positive values. So we're gonna do the same thing here. Can copy it by duplicating. Then connect it again on the join geometry. And here connect it again on the wall height. So there, we now have a wall area of our furniture. And now we can go ahead and model the horizontal dividers. So we're still going to use the same data. You can still use the same nodes. So we can connect the cube and the instance channel and mesh to the points. So for this one, we're gonna be using um, this count settings to have a number of levels of the racks. Oops. You can just connect count directly. So it's not showing right now because it's not connected to the output channel. So here we can adjust the number of rows. And then for the next part, we need to adjust the its length, the size of the boxes to be connected to the walls. So right now when we adjust the thickness and along the x-axis, it goes beyond the walls. We can add the combine XYZ and connect it. We can connect it here on our scale. Since we want it to be fixed on the wall, we're going to add a math node. Add a math node, multiply, and then connect it to the X wall location. Right now it's scaling up only half of the distance of the value here on our wall location. So we have to multiply it by 2. Let's multiply it by 2. We'll also add another math node. Place subtract, connect it to the multiply node, and then connect it to the thickness, wall thickness. So it's not going over the board. Do the same thing with the x axis, I mean the y axis. So it's gonna multiply along the thickness, then subtract. Oops, wrong. Should be connected to the depth. And then subtract depth. When you scale up the wall depth, it's also adjusting the rack. So for the thickness, you can adjust it here. Since we want to make a different sets of furniture, let's leave the location of the racks to be manually um, manipulated. So you can do that here. So you could change its height to make it uh, stay on the ground. You can just manually adjust it. Now group it together so it won't be so it will be more organized and easy to look at, since if you zoom out there's gonna be a lot of nodes and strings that you will see, and you might get overwhelmed by it. So that's Control J, then just put a color and name it. After doing that, we can just duplicate this, since it's also the same. It's gonna be just the same. Uh, Only this next one will be in vertical orientation. For scaling along the x-axis, we're not gonna need these nodes to manipulate it better. Well, for the y, for scaling along the y, of course you want it to be in the same measurement as the depth of the wall. So we're gonna do the same thing. If you want to see if intersecting with other objects, you can click the X-ray mode here, then you can see that it's overlapping. So now we're done with the divider one. So if you want to have more than just one divider, you can always just copy. You can just copy if you wanted to like not be too symmetrical. So let's try. So like that. So if you want this part to have a different location, like if you want to put another divider here, you can just create um a whole new set of data or object. There. So now you have a different design of furniture. So next is the drawer or container if you want to create one in case you're going to make a cabinet. So for the racks, we need to adjust it above the ground since of course if you're gonna put a furniture, uh, it's not gonna be going over the ground. It's not gonna go beyond the ground. So we have to adjust that. Similar process with the walls. So transform geometry and transform geometry and vector math, vector math, and combine X, Y, Z. Should be this one. There. But of course we can still adjust the height of this rack. So if you want to adjust it and if you don't want a if you want this design of furniture then you can do that. But for our cabinet we're gonna stick with zero. Maybe add another rack. So maybe we can delete first this dividers, but not really deleting it here, but instead we can just cut this string. Then after that, we can do the cabinet by adding another cube here, and then instances of points, and then mesh line. When we're gonna do like a cabinet like this, you can just copy what we did for our racks, wherein it's fits perfectly on the between the distance of the two walls, so it's not overlapping to the board. So it's connected to the scale. This one is connected to location. And this one connected to thickness. This to depth. Then depth again, so it won't go beyond like that. Can just manually adjust it. But like what we did with the other parts, to make sure that it's not going beyond the ground, we will add transform geometry, vector math node, and combine XYZ. This, then to make sure it's the divide option, then Z to your to that, but I have to connect this first on the same input. Mm, Since the offset is just 1 meter, so you can always switch to X-ray mode to see if there's an overlap. Okay, since the location is um on the ground, it's not considering the rack thickness because we still have another rack here. Of course, the cabinet's location will start above it, so we have to change the Z value to the rack's thickness at 0.430 and then adjust the Z, the offset, and now it's adjusting equally. You can just always manually adjust it. So with that, you can just um, manually adjust it. So for example, for just this one, you only want this part to have the drawer. You can here you can disconnect this um, nodes for the X component and then manually adjust it. So really have to um, really trial and error there. So now you have a cabinet down here, and then if you want another one at the top, you can just duplicate this one. It's a similar process, you just have to connect it to the corresponding input. Change the X location. So it's just the same process as the first um, drawer. So after that, we can do the leg part. So again, this is another optional, this is another, just an optional feature. So maybe we can adjust its layout so you don't have to zoom zoom out too much. So next is for the legs, you can use the cube, but I prefer using a cylinder. Cylinder, and then transform geometry. This one, it's gonna be a bit longer, so maybe you can place it on the right side and then change position. This one. So here, transform geometry, then connect a mesh to geometry and then geometry to this. So of course you want the legs to be scaled downwards. With that, we can add the math node divide, and then combine XYZ again. Here, so I have to put it in divide. So we can place it on the scale channel and then connect this to here, and then put -2 since we want it to go this way. Z to a new input, then put it in 1. So here, as you can see, it's not. Oops. Oops. I think it's not supposed to be there. Mm. I think it should be in scale. So this depth channel, we're going to connect it to a new input. here. So now it's adjusting the height of the leg. So to make sure that it's not um, going inside the cabinet, we're gonna add a math node and combine XYZ. Make sure it's in divide mode. And then -2 since we're gonna um go into the negative values. And then Z to the leg height. Okay. Adding a set position. So this is a new node. Set position. This is used to control the position of the geometry. Add combine XYZ. Then so when after placing the combined XYZ, we will also add a position node. So position node tells where the points are located of this geometry. Then after that, we're gonna add separate XYZ. Connect that here. It separates the vectors components to adjust it individually. So for this one, we're going to connect it to a math node. Math. So multiply, then another multiply for the y-axis. So after doing that, you can connect it here. So since we want to change its position instead of doing multiply, we can add. We're going to add multiply. Multiply. So you can just keep adjusting it. And then of course it's not going to be placed on the middle, so you can adjust its position. Oh, maybe not that one. And after doing that, of course, you're gonna mirror it on the other three corners. So you can do that by join geometry, then add a mass node, divide. So I think we need to add another transform geometry here. So I just added another transform geometry to mirror it on the other side by changing the scale to -1. So another transform geometry, connect it, another join geometry. So this will mirror these two legs to the other side. So gonna change the value of the y to -1. So now we have these four legs. So you can still change the angle, the distances of the legs. So that's for the legs. So for the handles, you can just do the same thing as the cabinet or the container. I can adjust the size. You can remove the unnecessary notes. Make sure there's no gap. So with that, we can also add a bevel. Mhm. So let's add realize instances. At this node, this allows the geometry to act separately and individually to prevent changes on same objects. So last but not least is the material. So you can go here on this material tab and then make a, so if you click this, so maybe we can add a light just to see and then change this also, that one. But for the legs, maybe we can use a wood texture. We can just make our own wood texture. So and then let's add a scrape texture. Nice texture. So you can put the color here. So let's add texture coordinate, then object to vector. So here we can see this pattern. Then here we can add once the material is set, you can go back here and you can go to the layout tab and you can also set up the camera and lights.
So that is all for our tutorial. Thank you for watching.